English translation. 385th contact. Thursday, 21st April, 2005, 22:35 hours.
Eduard, my friend, be greeted. Today I have to come early because my time is limited. In a few minutes you will have another visitor because...
Yes, I know. The spiritual leader Urlana contacted me during our correction work and said that she wanted to come here.
I did not know that. I mean that she had contacted you.
It was not supposed to be a surprise, was it?
No, not exactly, because I was going to tell you she was coming here. There you are, Urlana. Actually, I wanted to tell Eduard that you will tell him some predictions for the next few days on my behalf.
It was not my intention to interrupt you in your explanation. I am so happy to see you, dear Eduard. Be warmly greeted. Yes, I will tell you a few predictions, as I have been instructed to do. Afterwards, however, I would like to talk to you privately, because I think that you want to record what you are currently talking about as a contact conversation.
That is right, Urlana. As warmly as you greet me, you are warmly welcomed and also greeted. But, Ptaah, do you not have at least about 30 minutes left, because I would like to give you something to read and ask you to answer me about it, if you know about it?
Of course, I am not in such a hurry that I could not spare half an hour. What is the concern?
This article here. It is about the assassination of Pope John Paul II by Aliaga.
Ptaah reads the short article.
Yes, that is true. Akka had, among other things, also Vatican insider help. But I am not allowed to give more information about that.
Never mind. My question was only whether the claim was true. Then I have a question here about who actually described the printing matrices of my manuscript for my meditation book, which came to India with the kind help of my teacher, Gustav Lehmann. Did you or did Quetzal find anything else about this in Svatha's estate?
Yes, something else was found in my father's estate, in the part that Quetzal received. All the paperwork for the printing matrix production was done by the printer Karl-Heinz Metzinger. There are also some notes about the fact that the man Metzinger stayed in Zurich without an official permit, and also operated a paper trade and worked in a newspaper printing plant without the appropriate permit.
Oh, I see. So the man was an illegal immigrant and moonlighter, so that already existed in Switzerland at that time. But there's one thing I do not understand. On the 10th of March, you told me that in Svath's estate, there was also a record that this Karl-Heinz Metzinger had returned to Germany in 1958. But Svath could not have written such a note, because he died in 1953. So how could such a note be in Svath's estate?
I did not explain that to you. The thing was that after my father's death, my mother still worked on your most important matters with Asket until 1964. Through this, she also observed the Indian Natwar Vajpayee and Karl-Heinz Metzinger and recorded their actions and doings, including the return of the man Metzinger to Germany in 1958, where he fell into alcohol and within a short time lived on the streets as a vagrant, lost his identity, and died in 1969. The Indian returned to India in 1961, where he died in 1972. When she passed away in 2001, her and my father's records came into my possession as an estate, partly in Quetzal's and partly in mine. Unfortunately, that's all the records I could find.
That is already more than Hans-Georg and I have expected. Then I have here a Geo article from Issue No. 4, from April 2005, which you should read. It is about the early astronomer Johannes Kepler and the former imperial court astronomer Tycho Brahe. If you still have time for it?
I still have time for that.
Here, please. In the meantime, Urlana, if you want, you can explain to me what Ptaah has asked you for.
I would like to do that. But there is not much important to tell. apart from the following events that are worth mentioning. In Afghanistan, unfortunately, the old injustice of the Taliban is being committed again, that a woman is accused of adultery and murdered by stoning, and the adulterer is punished with 100 lashes. A monstrosity, as is my personal opinion. Also, according to our laws, no human may claim the right to decide over the body, life, and death of another human being. There is never a reason and never a right, except in self-defense, to execute or otherwise murder a person, not even by law. I also find it unacceptable, as our laws express it, that for the same violation of the law, a woman is punished in a different manner, and harder than a man. For man and woman in every respect, in a jurisdiction for the same breach of the law, the same measure of execution of measures or punishment must always apply, but this must never be directed against the dignity of the human being, and not against the untouchability of life and limb. But I am supposed to tell you further that the massacres by bombings and suicide bombers in Iraq will continue during the next weeks and months, and will claim many more lives. It is not yet clear when these attacks and murders will come to an end, just as it is not yet clear when the Israeli-Palestinian and worldwide terror will end. The prospects are not good at the moment, because at present and in the coming period, everything is coming to a head again with regard to terrorist Ausartungen to get very badly out of control of the good human nature, with not only suicide bombers, individual terrorists and terrorist organizations fomenting the threat and violence, but also irresponsible and criminal state powers, who also provoke uprisings and wars with their primitive and malicious, power-hungry machinations. Yes, then it has to be said that a series of bus and train accidents is again looming on the horizon worldwide, which will cause many people to lose their lives. These are the noteworthy things that Ptaah has asked me to tell you.
Thank you. Then I would like to ask if you are familiar with the earthly history of humankind?
All of us who come to the earth are concerned with the earthly history of humankind, so I know about it.
Wars and war leaders are also part of it, I suppose, because they too are part of human history.
That is correct. Why do you ask?
About Adolf Hitler, who started World War II. To this day, it is still unclear how this mass murderer killed himself. Do you know about that? It is always claimed that he poisoned himself, while others claim that he fled to Spain or South America.
These matters are all part of my knowledge. Adolf Hitler, fearing that his suicide might fail, robbed himself of his life in a twofold wise. First, he took a cyanide capsule, which he bit and swallowed, and then he immediately put a handgun in his mouth and shot himself in the brain with it, the bullet then escaping at the side of the back of his head. His remains were secretly buried by the Russians in East Germany, where they were dug up again in 1975 and thrown away so that no neo-Nazi cult site could be established. Parts of the skull and dentures were brought to Russia, where they are still kept today. With this, I have briefly stated the most important thing.
This information regarding Hitler's alleged suicide was based on an earthly rumor and was later mentioned in Contact Report 854, that Orlana's knowledge was then investigated, and it was explored that she had taken this knowledge from a religious writing of a sectarian, which was written by a eugenicist named Schlapphoff as a reference.
I have finished reading, having only read the most important part. What is written there regarding the murder of Tycho Brahe is actually true. I am familiar with the events surrounding this man and Johannes Kepler, for these are also recorded in our annals with regard to scientific knowledge and the progress of the Earth humans, as well as the fact that J. Kepler was a man to whom a human life meant nothing if he could make a profit from it. According to your meaning, he was without conscienceless and egotistical, which is why, in order to appear great before the world, he sought a way to put himself in the light. Dangerously ambitious and unscrupulous, he devised a plan to become a great astronomer. The disgracefulness was based on the fact that he had Tycho Brahe poisoned by envious and hostile helpers and accomplices, whom he paid well for a period of 10 days, during which he was given 2 milk meals with a lethal dose of mercury, both of which he consumed without hesitation and unsuspectingly. The second dose of mercury then brought him death half a day after the milk meal. Shortly afterwards, Johannes Kepler took possession of all Brahe's notes and calculations, which he had compiled in a large series of folios in the observation books mentioned in the reading.
So then the facts are stated in the article.
You said it. But now, dear friend, I must go.
I have one more question, if I may. Back in the 70s and 80s of the last century, Quetzal, Simyase, you and I talked on various occasions about what was happening in the Bermuda Triangle and in the Japanese Devil's Sea. You explained to me at that time that in both places there are frozen methane gases under the seabed, which are released and pushed to the surface of the sea as a result of seabed shifts, especially by seaquakes. If ships get into these gas clouds, which make the water unstable, they sink immediately and disappear with man and mouse into the depths of the sea. The same happens to airplanes that crash when the methane gas clouds rise high above the sea, causing the air to lose its carrying capacity. Both ships and airplanes crash and sink in such a matter of seconds that humans usually cannot even send out a distress call and cannot even save themselves. Furthermore, the Bermuda Triangle and the Japanese Devil's Sea are also made unsafe by piracy, whereby the captured ships are sunk and the crews murdered. The two places are also popular for insurance fraud, especially with ships that are sunk, as well as for the fact that humans are supposed to disappear without a trace and then continue their lives with a new identity somewhere else. Again, as you have explained, insurance fraud occurs when large life insurance policies are taken out. This is what you have explained to me if I disregard the dimensional gate, which according to your information has long since disappeared. Since those conversations, it has been completely forgotten that you promised me that you would mention other factors that lead to the disappearance of ships and planes in the Bermuda Triangle and the Japanese Devil's Sea. If you could make up for that now, dear friend.
I would like to do that, but then I really have to go. So listen. It is true that the seabed of the Bermuda Triangle and the Japanese Devil's Sea contains bound methane, which, when released as methane gas bubbles, moves quickly to the sea surface and into the air, causing the density of the water to change in a flash, and it loses its carrying capacity, causing aircrafts and ships, when they get into the gas bubbles, to sink into the sea without a trace within seconds. In addition to the above-mentioned facts, electromagnetic factors of the Earth play a major role in the crashes of aircraft and the sinking of ships. In the areas mentioned above, very strong electromagnetic oscillations occur very frequently, which extend high into the atmosphere and cause dangerous compass disturbances, causing the control apparatus or navigation instruments of the ships and aircraft to break down in their function and show completely wrong values. As a result, the pilots of the aircraft and ships lose their orientation and head for the wrong positions, which very often leads to the crash of the aircraft or the sinking of the ships. The electromagnetic oscillations of the Earth continue to produce luminous phenomena, which are seen as light objects, and these very often also occur in the form of seaquake lights, and likewise as earthquake lights. The electromagnetic forces in the Bermuda Triangle and in the Japanese Devil's Sea are extraordinarily strong and cause even hard metal to break or hurl even large aircraft through the air or large ships through the water, tearing them apart and sinking into the sea without leaving a trace. Also luminous gas clouds, which rise from the bottom of the sea to the surface and into the air. As it happens also in moorland areas with regard to the so-called will-o'-the-wisps, but also ball lightning are frequent phenomena which occur at the mentioned places. Experts call these light phenomena UFOs, which happens especially with humans who are of esoteric and religious faith, whereby they regard the appearing phenomena as of extraterrestrial origin, which is of course nonsense because real extraterrestrial flying machines, which are piloted by life forms, correspond to an absolute rarity. Another important factor that leads to the sinking of ships in the Bermuda Triangle and in the Japanese Devil's Sea is that in these two areas, different ocean currents create so-called monster waves to which the ships fall victim. Such monster waves are not rare and reach heights of 30 to 45 meters, endangering even the big and largest ships. Many unexplained shipwrecks on all of the world's oceans of the earth, from ancient times until today, have been attributed to such monster waves, and this will continue to happen in the future. This also means that such piled-up water masses do not only appear in the Bermuda Triangle and in the Japanese Devil's Sea, but on all the seas of the earth.
I have read about this, because since ancient times, sailors have reported gigantic waves on the seas they barely escaped. Then this is not a sailor's yarn, nor are the stories of the legendary sea monsters, of which I myself saw some monstrous specimens during my dive with Quetzal.
Everything really corresponds to reality.
There is more between heaven and earth than meets the eye of the human being with their scholastic wisdom can dream of.
There is no denying it. But now I really must go. Goodbye and Salome until next Thursday.
Take care, Ptaah. Salome, and he is gone.
Are you not pressed for time, Eduard?
Do not worry.
Then I want to discuss the following with you.